Test. Testing. Test. Test yellow mic. Test on yellow. Test on yellow. Easy.
When you want to get off the darkest ground, but gravity pulls you straight down. Earth from a bird's eye view. You should grow feathers and see this too. When you want to get off the darkest ground, but gravity pulls you straight down.
All right, everybody, welcome. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. So I thought I was going to speak to only the camera tonight. We've got a lot of people online joining us. So wherever you are across the nation right now, tuning in here, so wanted just to say thank you for being here. Thank you for taking your time. My name is Stephen Michael Miller. I'm one of the founders here at Strongbrook and Limitless. Limitless is one of Strongbrook's programs. I don't want to be up on stage. I'm going to come on down here for a minute. And I wanted to start off the evening and introduce myself a little bit and a little bit of the concept of what we're doing here. You're going to have a chance to hear from some amazing individuals and individuals who are also my good friends. I'm really excited to have them on stage tonight with us. But tonight's really about previewing what we do at an event that we call Limitless. And before I begin, I want to ask a couple questions and invoke some responses here, if you don't mind playing along a little bit. What does it mean in your mind to be limitless? What would that mean? What does that look like? Say that again?
To be without bounds.
All right, be without bounds. What else?
Options, a lot of options.
Options, okay, have a lot of options. What else? Anything else? To never be done. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot, yeah. For me, Limitless is about removing those self-imposed blocks or limitations, right? We all live through life and we have experiences. And those experiences sometimes cause static. Right? We all have experiences, and these experiences teach us things. And those learning moments can either teach us good things about ourselves, or sometimes we can take bad things and we can apply those in our lives. And whatever it is, it will affect the way that we live the rest of our life, for good or for worse, right? And so this idea of being limitless is removing those old limitations, oftentimes those things that we chose into as children that we didn't even know that we chose into, and to choose into the life that we truly want, to create the life that we truly want. I wanted to start with a quick story. When I was 9 years old, I wanted something really, really bad. And what I wanted, this was my dream, my goal, my vision, I wanted to build a treehouse. Anybody in the room ever wanted to build a treehouse? Okay. Anyone ever do it? No? Almost, okay. Started to. Well, I wanted this treehouse so bad, but the problem was I was faced with some massive blocks and limitations that were very real to me at the time. I was 9 years old, but I was born into a family that was extremely poor. And when I say poor, I'll define it for you. Poor for me meant that we didn't go on field trips that cost $5 or $10 because we just didn't have the money. We just couldn't afford it, right? Poor for me meant we were on welfare, church and or state welfare for the majority of my childhood. And, when I was 7 or 8 years old, my father took me for the first time to learn the family trade, which was dumpster diving. That's how I learned, that's how we got many meals on the table, was from grocery store dumpsters. And so that was my childhood. And when I had this dream that I wanted to build a treehouse, I was one of those kids that would get really excited because I had a mom and a dad who both loved me, luckily. And they told me every single day that I could do anything that I wanted to, and I believed them. And so when I had this thought and this idea, this dream that I wanted to build this treehouse, I got excited for it. And I went out to tell the people that I loved the most. I went to my siblings and I said, hey, I had 3 brothers and a sister. I said, hey, I want to build this treehouse. Now, coming from my background, what do you think they may have said to me? Yeah, you can't. They weren't even that nice. Like, Steven, you're an idiot. You're stupid. Why are you even thinking that you could build a treehouse or you could do anything like that? Mom and dad can't help you. Actually, we called them mommy and daddy. Mommy and daddy can't help you. So, just don't be so dumb. Don't be so naive. And probably because of my parents and their encouragement and their constant pushing me and helping me to know that I could do anything I wanted to, the moment that I heard that, I had this fire burning inside of me saying, I'm going to show you. And I'm not just going to show you, but I'm going to show me that I can do this. So, knowing that I couldn't go to my parents for help, knowing that my siblings weren't going to be any help, I started circling this old oak tree that we had in my backyard. This oak tree was amazing. I loved it. It was so huge. And the lowest branches of this oak tree were too high for even an adult to reach, right? So I'm, 9 years old, circling this oak tree and just imagining how I would build this tree house. Having no idea how I was going to do it, but I kept on imagining it and thinking about it. And finally, the thought came to me and said, Steven, you're no stranger to dumpster diving. Why don't you just go find the materials? Just go find them. I lived on these old city blocks that had these dirt alleyways that cut them in half. And in the dirt alleyways, we had these massive dumpsters that would service 4 to 5, 3, 4 homes, whatever it was. And so again, I had that thought. And so I said, okay, why not? So I went up and down these alleyways and I started looking for materials and started collecting wood. I found an old exterior wood door, a good solid, wood door. Found some old pallets, some other discarded construction material. I remember this one day I found an old waterbed. Anybody ever have a waterbed? Yeah? Okay. Come on, everyone's like, I don't want to admit that one, but yeah, I had one. Right, so the old waterbeds, most of it was particle board, right? Not very useful for a treehouse, but the upper part of it was like pressure treated 2x8s, and then they had some plywood in there, which was perfect for my treehouse. So I grabbed all that, and I ended up having this nice pile of wood that I kind of stacked by this dilapidated detached garage that we had. And I got to the point where I had enough wood, but I still had no nails or screws or anything else to start my actual project. So circling my treehouse again, or the tree, in my mind is my treehouse already, right? I'm circling my tree, and had this idea: get into that old dilapidated garage and just find what you need, like clean it up and find some nails and find some screws and get going. I'm like, okay. So I get in there, get a broom and dustpan, start sweeping this up. And this was so old and dilapidated. I say dilapidated because the elements had really gotten to it. The windows had been broken in. There were holes in the roof. And the once cement floor had kind of turned to dirt. That's how old it was. And so I grab a broom and dustpan, and I start sweeping up and organizing everything and, putting everything in rows and whatever. And I get to the point where I have a decent handful of nails and screws, and I can start my project. So I get to work. I make steps. Little one-step things, and nail them to the tree so I can climb up into it, start hoisting all the wood up there, and start building my tree house. I found an old garden hose that had been, it was just old and had holes in it. And I used that, tied it up to some of the heavier pieces of wood so I could leverage it up. And I'm doing all this by myself, this 9-year-old kid, and I'm having this construction project. And I start building it, and it's amazing. I'm just enjoying myself. I don't know if any of you have ever found yourself doing work that you loved. It's no longer work. Really, from sunup to sundown, I was up in my tree building my tree house, and it was just the best time of my life. And I get to the point where I ran out of all of screws and nails, but I had plenty of wood left, and my tree house wasn't done. And I'm up in my tree house, and my mom calls me down one day. And I get down out of the tree, and I go over to my mom. She's sitting at the back of my house, and she has her hand behind her back. And my mom is, 5'2", and she's a really small little lady. But I was a lot shorter at the time. And she leans over to me, and she says, "Steven, I've got a surprise. I've got a secret for you, but you can't tell your siblings." I don't know how it works in your family, but when Mom says you can't tell your siblings, you get excited. Like, don't worry, Mom, I won't tell anybody. Yes. So I'm really excited, and she takes her arm from behind her back, and she opens up this brown paper bag, and she kind of just rolls it open, and I look inside, and inside that bag was a brand new box of 16 penny nails. Now, for the average person, that wouldn't have made much of a difference, probably. But for me, that was the realization of my dream and my goal. That box of 16 penny nails, if you don't know construction, those are the really good ones. Those are the 3-inch galvanized, just beautiful, perfect for my treehouse nails. And I threw my arms around my mom's neck, gave her a huge hug and kiss, grabbed those nails and got up into the tree and completed my project over the next several weeks. I tell you this story because this story has served me so much later on in life. As a kid, I didn't really understand it. I didn't really apply it. I didn't really get what it meant. But as an adult, I came to really understand the power of what I learned as a 9-year-old boy. And I want you to take note of a couple of these things. Number one, I learned that I could do anything I set my mind to. That literally, it didn't matter what my circumstances were, where I was in life, what kind of finances I had or didn't have. If I had a dream and I was persistent in it, I could find the resources, or the resources would be made available to me. Huge lesson. So often in life, as we're told as kids, I don't know again how it was for you, but for me, I would go to my parents and say, I want to do this, that, or the other. And almost always without fail, the answer was, we love you, Stephen, but we can't. We can't. You hear that over and over and over again. And if you hear I can't long enough and enough times, all of a sudden there's this little thing that happens in your mind, in your subconscious, where even though you may not want to believe it up here, you will start to believe and act out of it back here. You ever heard of a scarcity mindset? Oh man, I had a bad one. I had this playing over and over and over. The good part for me was I then also on the other side of my brain had my parents telling me, Stephen, but you can do anything you want to. You can do anything you want to, right? So this kind of this strange dichotomy in my brain. I was a little schizophrenic, I think, as a kid. I can't, And but I learned from this experience that I truly could create whatever I wanted to, that oftentimes some of the worst experiences or toughest experiences that we go through, for me that was dumpster diving at the time, can create and produce resourcefulness. I learned that I could go to other places, I could create new things, that I didn't have to necessarily go to those around me, especially because I thought I couldn't, right? To get those resources, I could do it myself. It doesn't take money to make money. It didn't take money to make my treehouse. I was able to do it. Second, probably even more powerful lesson, was I learned that I had given myself, I had blocked myself. I had truly limited myself. I had told myself that I couldn't go to my parents. I couldn't ask them for resources. I had told myself this. But in reality, in the end, it was my mother and her resources that allowed me to finish and complete my goal. So I had this belief. And in all of my past experiences, all that I had learned from my parents had shown me that belief was true. I had all the evidence in the world supporting this idea that I could not go to my parents and ask them for help. When in reality, again, when in the truth, right? Not just my belief, but the truth with a capital T, I could have gone to my mom. And she would have supplied me with some of the resources that I needed. Maybe not all, but some. So I limited myself there. I caused myself pain and anguish. And I want you to think to yourself for just a minute, how often do we cause ourselves pain and anguish based on limiting and false beliefs? Our brains are powerful. And for the majority of us, we don't even understand what happens, not just in the frontal lobe, but back here in the other areas, all these subconscious and conscious levels. And so what I want to do right now is I want to introduce our first speakers. Jacqueline Smith and Kara Brandt are two amazing individuals who have created tremendous results in their lives in wealth, in health, in relationships, and in so many other areas. And I want to bring them up to talk to you today about how we utilize the brain, how we actually unlock and access those things to create that limitless life that we're all looking for. Because at the end of the day, these resources are available to all of us. We just sometimes have to learn how to become resourceful. So if you'll put your hands together and help me welcome up Jacqueline Smith and Kara Brandt. Come on up.
Thank you, Stephen.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.
I'm so bringing down this. Do you need help? Can we do this real quick?
How you guys doing? We're glad you're here. And we'd like to acknowledge all of those that are online who are participating in our live stream. Hey, everybody. We love having you with us. All right, so I'm going to be Vanna White for Jacqueline right now.
Fabulous. I love Anna. You guys can't hear me, but I want to make sure they can hear me back there. So one of the things that we have in our mind is we have these synapses, and they talk to each other all the time in our brains. So you've got this little point, and it says, oh, I have this event. And every time I have an event, man, it creates this emotional response for me. And so we come up with this emotion, and then boom, we have this big giant reaction to that emotion. Now, what is interesting about that is you cannot break a synapse in your brain. It's impossible. Once you've begun this pathway, it keeps going and going and going, and the pathway gets stronger and stronger and stronger. So if you've got a really great event that's produced a great emotion, you will always have the same reaction. But unfortunately, most of us have events that occur in our lives that create a negative emotion, and we react in a negative way. And that's really hard because you can't break this pattern. It gets so bad, in fact, that sometimes you just go straight to here. You don't even recognize that you have an emotion anymore. You're just reacting. And it becomes very, very automatic. That automatic response is what we call an unconscious reactor. We just go through it. So I'm going to give you an example of one of the things that happened to me. And this is how our brains work. So when I was a little girl, and I learned this recently through Belief Breakthrough, I didn't realize this was something that I was doing. When I was a little girl, I was in gymnastics, and I really wanted my dad to come see my meets, but he rarely, if ever, was able to come to those meets because he was busy, he was working, he just didn't come. So I decided that event, me doing something important, created an emotion of, he doesn't show up for me. So my automatic reaction was to feel sorry for myself because men in my life don't show up. Now I grow up and I get married, and I've got this file in my head about men not showing up. The craziest thing is they were showing up all the time. But it was like I was blinded and couldn't even see that they were showing up. Because my brain had an automatic response when I had an important event to immediately go to, they don't show up, and I feel sorry for myself. With Belief Breakthrough, we actually help you find a way to stop this response. We help you recognize the emotion. They don't show up for me. Wait, stop. Let's come over here and analyze it, really look at it, and find the truth. Oh, yes, they do show up. And then you create action. You don't react, you actually take an action. And you think, what I did was I was thanking the people in my life for showing up. I cannot tell you how much I see how my husband shows up for me now. And I didn't see it before because I had an event that created an automatic response for me, and I fed it from that point on in my life for, 40 years. From 10 to 50, I fed that response. It's kind of like crazy, but that's exactly what I did. And that's what's so amazing about this. And this is really what we do with Belief Breakthrough. We learn how our brains work, we learn why they do what they do, and we simply reprogram them to see the truth. Because most of the time, what we've been telling ourselves has been a lie. It isn't really true. The truth was, my dad showed up for me all the time. He worked really hard to provide for our family. And he was there. I didn't recognize it as a 10-year-old. So the other thing that we're going to talk about is how these synapses that we have planted are like seeds. Kara's going to get into that for you.
Okay, so I love metaphors. I use metaphors all the time because I'm a visionary. I'm very visual. And so Gerald Rogers actually is one of our lead facilitators at the Limitless events, and he has introduced, he talks about this concept of roots and fruits and how in the garden of our minds, if our beliefs are rooted in a lie, then we produce what kind of fruit? Rotten fruit, right? And when our beliefs are grounded or rooted in truth, we produce what kind of fruit? Good fruit. And what kind of fruit do we want? Good fruit, right? But unfortunately, there's this interesting thing. I'm going to teach you a little bit more about the brain and kind of build on what Jacqueline has already said. So 5% of our thought patterns are in our conscious mind. And the other 95% is swimming around in our subconscious
Just
brain.
imagine an igloo, an iceberg. Like the part you can see, that's your conscious. Part you can't see, your subconscious.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So what's interesting about the subconscious mind is it takes everything literally, for one, and it has the cognitive capacity of a 2 to 8 year old. And so these events that happen between the ages of 2 and 8 years old, as Jacqueline was describing, these events occur. And, children are interesting because they don't, they're perceptive. They notice everything, right? Do you have kids? Yeah, and they notice everything and they point everything out, right? And yet their ability to, interpret is really underdeveloped, and the brain isn't really fully developed until the mid-20s, I think. And so these events are happening in our lives. Think of us when we're not developed yet, and these events start happening. And sometimes these events are legitimately sad. Sometimes there's real abuse. Sometimes, I grew up with a lot of stories of abandonment and abuse, physical, verbal, okay? And some people have really hard things happen that are real and should be acknowledged, right? And given the proper care and love. And sometimes these events are just these tiny little things where, I could be trying to budget my checkbook or balance my checkbook, and I've got a deadline because I've got a client that's going to call me in 10 minutes, and I've got dinner in the stove that's going to burn if I don't, and I've got all these things, and my little boy comes up to me and is like, Mom, hey, Mom, and I'm doing this, right? And I don't mean any harm. I love my little boy. Did I almost write on you?
We'll kill you if you did.
I almost wrote on her with this really
smelly
yummy,
marker.
smelly marker. I'm going to put this away just because I don't trust myself.
We're good.
You can write for me if I... Okay. So, this is totally unscripted. I'm thinking, where did my brain just go?
So let me just give you an example of how a really fairly benign, well, it's not really that benign, but there was no harm intended situation can create a limiting belief. My husband's mom was trying to teach him about money and teach him a really good lesson about money. So he worked all summer long. And at the end of the summer, she handed him all this money. And she said, okay, now you get to pay the bills. And she took back some money for his clothes. And she took back some money for the food they ate. And she took back some money for the gas that they spent to run him around. And she took back some money for some rent for where he lived. And she took back some money for this and for that. And you name it. Now, she thought she was teaching him responsibility. But in the end, he ended up with just a few, $1.75, I think is what he ended up with. And I think it was over $1,500 that he'd earned over the summer. And this created a belief in my husband of, I'll only make enough to get by. I'll only just get by. And amazingly, whether we made $20,000 or $180,000, we always had enough to get by, but just barely. It was the weirdest thing. I was like, how is that possible? But that belief was so strong, and his subconscious was so strong, he actually made sure that's how it worked out without even trying, because his subconscious was running his life.
So he planted a seed in his mind that eventually grew and produced fruit that was rotten, right? And this little boy of mine that's coming up to me and I'm shooing him away, I'm just saying, not right now, sweetheart. And he's thinking, my mom doesn't love me anymore. And think about that sitting in the subconscious mind and eventually growing up, so many things. So we develop the emotions, right, come in those events, and then we create these stories that are connected to these emotions and these belief systems. And they either produce rotten fruit or they produce good fruit, right? But what if we were to go through a process and become conscious of those seeds that were planted and pull them out by the roots and plant a new seed of truth? Then we would no longer be in victimhood. Then we would no longer be a slave.
We would actually run our own lives. Instead of letting our subconscious run our lives, we'd consciously be running our lives.
And instead of being an unconscious reactor, we become a conscious what? Creator.
Conscious creator.
Do you know what the opposite of the word victim is? Does anyone really know? I mean, some people would say victor, but the opposite of victim is creator. You see, I have this belief, and at Limitless we have this belief that we have absolute power of creation of our world right here and now. And we have the power to change every possible rotten fruit that we see. And we also believe that we must take responsibility for those seeds that have been planted, regardless of the events, regardless of what those other people in our lives had to do with the planting of that seed. And when we take full responsibility for those choices, for those seeds, again, regardless of who was responsible for that, we step into our personal power in a way that no one can stop us.
How many of you actually been to Limitless? Raise your hand. If you have not been, I hope that you will take the time to come with us and join us there. We have a few more people. I'd like to bring Stephen back up because he's going to introduce our next speakers to you, just to give you another little tiny taste of what it is that we do at Limitless.
Thank you so much.
Give it up for Jacqueline and Kara. Thank you. Life is all about learning, and the longer I live, the more I realize that there's very little I know, and I get to continue to learn and learn and learn. And one of the concepts that I love that we talk about so much at Limitless is this idea and concept of being unconditional beings. Removing those limits is really all about seeing ourselves for who we really are and loving ourselves in the process, but at the same time, seeing everyone else for who they truly are and loving them throughout the whole process as well, being truly unconditional. And when we talk about unconditional, we talk about it in a number of different ways. We talk about unconditional in terms of our relationships and how do we show up for our significant other, our children, our parents, our siblings, our friends, family. We also talk about being unconditional in terms of our financial well-being and how do we act with money? How do we react to it? How does it form our lives, or do we create our lives and utilize that as a resource? So I'd like you to just help me welcome up Tracy Roberts and Marianne DeNovelis to talk to us about unconditional.
Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you.
So, how many of you have heard the term of unconditional love before? Have ever heard that said before? And how many of you have ever heard a term so often that it starts to lose meaning? Like, when's the last time? Raise your hand, let me see. Like, when's the last time you looked up unconditional in the dictionary? I don't think I ever have, actually. So this concept of unconditional is a a term that we use often, but sometimes we don't know what it means. Like, I love you unconditionally, even though I don't really know exactly what I'm saying. Can I give you the definition of unconditional? And if you have a pen and paper, or even your phone, I would encourage you to take this one down. So go ahead and pull it out. When I first learned this definition of unconditional, it felt like a bomb just went off, and I was thrown back, and I was like, you mean that's how I'm supposed to show up? And it was this thought that followed, I have been shown unconditional love, and I have been so selfish in keeping it to myself for years. Now I finally get that I'm supposed to share it. Okay, so you ready? Here's what unconditional love means to me, and here's what I have come to understand it as. Unconditional love means that I choose, what's that word? Choose to show up in love for you, whether or not you reciprocate or give back, no matter how long it does or does not take. I choose to show up in love for you, whether or not you reciprocate, no matter how long it does or does not take. And when I heard that, it really, because it asked me to give something to someone without any expectation of them giving back. It means I get to love my husband without expecting love in return. It means no strings attached. Are you sure? Are you sure this is going to work? But I had tasted of it so much that I thought, that's worth a try. So I showed up in unconditional love for my husband. And it was so the opposite of manipulative. Right? You know, because I would want things for my husband. I would want him to do the dishes, so I would say things to him to coerce him to do the well, if you do the dishes, I'll make the bed. Or if you do the dishes, I'll make your favorite dinner. Or it would make me so happy.
We got little kids in the room, so
Don't you worry. Don't you worry. It would make me so happy if you did the dishes. Oh, do you hear the poison in that? Let me show you where the poison in that lies. When I say it would make me so happy if you, that means I'm taking my happiness and putting it in your hands. Who's in charge of your happiness? Me. Who's in charge of your happiness? Not you. Charge of my happiness. Everyone repeat after me. I am in charge of my happiness.
I am in charge of my happiness.
No one else can make you anything. No one else can make you happy. No one else can make you sad. You do not have your emotions imposed on you. You select them. No one can make you anything. And when you remove the strings, when you detach, that's where unconditional comes in. I choose to show up in love for you, whether or not you reciprocate, no matter how long it does or does not take, which means you may never show up in love for me, and I still show up in love for you anyway. Can I go a little deeper? Is that okay? The next level to this is learning that the love doesn't just come from me. That there's a conduit that I could check into. Because when I first heard this, I thought it would sound so exhausting to just give and give and give and give and give with this expectation of receiving and never receiving. When I understand that the love that I give is not just from me, but it's a conduit from my Creator, then I get to love that person as my Creator would. And that means it never runs out.
I think this is really important because what Mary Ann just introduced us to, she introduced us to a concept or an idea of the gift. Have you ever had somebody give you a gift with strings attached? or they did something nice to you or for you, but they really had expectations attached to that. That's not a gift. That's an exchange. When I'm unconditional, when I show up in unconditional love, then what happens is I actually deliver something over to Deborah. I hand it to you. And I have zero expectation of anything in return. I'm giving it just out of the love and the kindness of my heart. That's why when you're walking down the street and someone petitions you for money, sometimes that's the best person to give it to, because you'll probably never see them to that dollar that you just handed them. At Limitless, we spend 3 days of transformation. We have 4, and I call it the University of Transformation. And in every university, there are colleges. And so within the University of Transformation, there's the College of Health. There's a College of Connection. There's a College of Personal Power. There's a College of Wealth. And because God has blessed me, then I have an opportunity to often talk to people about my money friends. And I'm not going to talk to you about my money friends today, but I'm going to just tell you a little bit that these little fellows, they're not little fellows, they're really cool people. Dr. Franklin is kind of one of my favorites. But they have ears and they can hear. And oftentimes I help people understand that if you are in a relationship, no matter what the relationship is, you can be unconditional or conditional, and money is a relationship, and it's a spiritual one. The reason why I know it's spiritual is because it can be in more than one place at one time. And so as you're developing these relationships, as you're learning how to live unconditionally, then you're able to take that into the different parts of my life. I'm able to take it into the health aspect of my life. Because you're sitting next to a lady that you love. But if you die from a heart attack 2 minutes from now, then all of a sudden she's crying. So because you're unconditional with her, then you may say, I'm gonna choose to be healthy. And that's one of the colleges of our transformation. Because I've watched some people, I watch multi-millionaires. And I'm not going to say his name, but he owns a bunch of the jazz and stuff, except for his health. And so when I find, when I'm able to have a harmony in my life, then that harmony causes something. It causes me to live to my highest calling. It causes me to live my best life. When I take my family on cruises sometimes, I look and I'm just like going, oh my gosh, there's these people in there with strollers and barely getting by and shuffling on the shuffleboard. And I'm going, I want to live now. I don't want to live when I'm old and can't. So being unconditional with me is a powerful thing.
And I love the point that you bring up with unconditional, how it breaches the gap between anything. How many of you have ever said, if I had more money, I'd be happy? How many of you have ever felt that? And at one point in your life, my hand's up, I'll own it. If I had more money, I'd be happy. If I had more intimacy, I'd be happier. If I had a cleaner house, I'd be happier. A bad case of the someday. Who's ever had a bad case of the some days? Someday I'll be there, and then I'll be happy. Someday I will live in the house of my dreams, and then I'll be happy. You guys, you don't have tomorrow. You don't have someday.
You have now.
You
When do
don't
we
have
have?
yesterday. You have
Now.
right now.
That's all I've got. I just have now.
So if you're putting your happiness in the past or you're putting your happiness in the future, guess what? You're putting it out of reach.
So now that I told you to live healthy, then one of the things that you may want to do is if you wanted that ice cream sundae and you ain't had it yet, you only got tonight, you might as well go get it. But you might want to get up, if you get up in the morning, you might want to get up and go to the gym or go for a walk or do something. Because while I know that I have now, then I still prepare for the future. And I've been able to have the right mentors in my life, and I have mentors all around me. And here's the cool thing. The people that I think that I'm mentoring, oftentimes, they turn out to be my mentor. I was at an event that Dave was there, and he brought his keyboard. Oh, my gosh, I was speaking, and I thought I was in church because Dave was back there, and he just started playing for me while I was speaking, and he was bringing it up, and I was like going, yes, now. And
If you've never been to church with Tracy, go to church with Tracy.
And so he brought something. He brought his gifts and his talents. Each one of us in this room have certain gifts. Dave was given a gift to be a minstrel, to make beautiful music. Carol was given a gift with her voice that she could speak and the angels stop. I know that each one of us have gifts. Mary Ann went through literal hell that she would never want to go through, and I would never want her to go through, but I'm happy that she went through it because now she's helping people not have to go through hell. Now that is a difference of opinion, isn't it? Where I can look at something, I get excited for it because I'm just like, thank you for going through that, because now you're blessing, you're serving so many people, and you're living unconditionally. I'm free. I get to spend my time. And I really honor and cherish the fact that y'all came and spent some time with us tonight.
That shows an investment in yourself. I can tell where your investments are when I look at your wallet and I look at your schedule. So I know tonight you're investing in yourself because you're here. And the thing with investments is that there's usually an ROI, isn't there? And Tracy just had
Return on investment.
An ROI is a return on investment. Tracy just had an amazing experience with return on investment in his house, and you got like what, 81% return back on your property?
Yes.
It was a crazy.
So it was a good ROI. So on one of my investment properties, I'm taking one house, and watch this, and I'm turning it into 3.
So he's got this amazing return on investment with this property. Magnifying it. Now watch this. That investment was calculable, meaning we could put it in a calculator and get a number back, right? The investment you make in yourself with your time and your money, you can't calculate. You cannot quantify how much better your life will get when you put it all on the line. And you know what we call that? When you can't calculate the return on investment because no calculator on the planet can get to a number that high, you know what we call that? We call it a miracle. And at Limitless, we're in the business of having miracles. We are in the business of creating breakthrough so that your life can be riddled with miracles, so that the return on investment is completely incalculable, and that is the space that you live in every single day.
And a lot of times people, they look at the what it's going to cost. It's going to cost you 3 days of your life to go to Limitless. There is a cost attached to it. 3 days of your life. Are you willing to invest in you? And here's the cost. The cost to come to Limitless is $499. Are you willing to invest $500 in you? And some people say, well, I don't know. So here's what I do. I'm going to take the hurdle out of your way. Really, I'm going to take the hurdle out of your way so that you can't so the excuse is on you. It's all on you. Because watch this. Because I am a stockholder in Limitless and Strongbrook and it's part of my company. And here's what I'm going to do.
Now, hang on. Before you do that,
I'm going to do it, though.
I know you're going to do it. But I just want to help these people understand exactly what happened here. When I first went to Limitless, I looked at dollars, and I almost let the dollars decide for me. I almost let the bank account decide for me that my money was in charge of me. I was subject to that. When I turned that around and understood that I am in charge of my money, that I get to decide where I put my money, I made a bet on myself. How much are you willing to bet on yourself? Raise your hand if you're willing to bet $499 on yourself, on your own success. Raise your hand. Are you willing to bet on your own success? And this
You're
is
the
what I
horse
want.
in the race. Are you willing to bet on you?
Are you willing to bet on you? Now, Tracy's about to extend a gift, I believe.
Yes, because I have been blessed in a miraculous way. I'm really free. Financially, I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, with whomever I want, almost for as long as I want. I'm still working on it for as long as I want, but pretty much. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to offer you something, but I want you to actually calculate this. So I want you to know what the real cost is. If you have a JOB, if you have a job, I'm not going to tell you what I think the JOB stands for, just over broke. If you have one of those, then you're going to have to take some time off. Here's the calculation that I want you to do. Figure out how much it's going to cost you in your paycheck. And if all of a sudden it's going to cost you $1,500 for taking 3 days off, then I want you to understand that it was costing you your time, plus it really cost you $1,500 to come to my event. Because I'm going to let you come to it for $1. For $1.
I don't know if y'all heard that.
But the $1 is important.
So wait a minute. Are you telling me that these people and everyone watching online can come to Limitless for the
I didn't say people
full...
watching online. I'm talking about the people here.
Oh.
That's Stephen Miller. He's actually one of the owners of the company. He might be able to do something for the online people.
Maybe we could swing a little deal for the online people. But are you telling me that we can go to Limitless for all 3 days for $1?
Yes, 3 days of transformation.
I think that's a clapper right there, guys. Now, wait a second. Dana has been to Limitless. Dana, will you come up here and give us your feedback on Limitless?
Yeah. Limitless for me was the best 3 days of this whole year because it was a moment for me where I was at this space with money. I was in complete frustration with money. My husband worked, I didn't. He had all the power, I didn't. And so therefore, I would sell myself short on my dreams. I've had this dream my whole life to be a speaker, to inspire people, to just help people remember who they are. Because I have this gift to see people. I have this gift to really see them for who they can be and who they are. And I was playing small, and all because my limiting beliefs on money. I can't have it because my husband brings in the money. And I remember the moment that everything shifted for me. I had an amazing experience where I was able to apply some of the tools that I learned. And I stepped into this new belief that I honor my sparkly heart. I love sparkles. They make everything fun. And I know I have one right here, sparkly heart. I honor my heart, meaning I honor what my heart is telling me to do. And I choose not to idolize my fears anymore. I choose not to put my fears before what God's telling me to do in my heart, before what intuition is telling me. And as I stepped into that, amazing things happened. As I stepped into that, amazing things happened. Miracles have happened. I could go on and on. One of the coolest things that happened for me, before Limitless, the most I ever brought in a month was $2,000. I worked for a little bit before. When I came to Limitless, I wasn't working. The most I'd ever maxed $2,000 in 1 month. And as I stepped into this new belief of I honor my heart and I find ways to make things happen, I manifested $30,000 in 30 days.
That's a clapper, by the way. How many of you would like that kind of pay increase for just doing what you love? Raise your hand. Let me hear some noise.
Yes. $30,000 in 30 days. And all because I changed my beliefs. I changed how I saw money, and I stepped into honoring my heart, honoring my intuition, and what my intuition was telling me, and living my dreams. And let me tell you, today, I stepped in another big step. And I signed up for the speaker program. And I can tell you today I'm living my dream. My dream is reality. It's no longer those someday or one day dreams. It's reality. It is now. And the reason why that's so impactful is, the cool part is it's for me, but the reason why that's so impactful is because I have 4 boys at home. They're watching their mama. They look up to me. And I am not going to sit by and tell them they can have whatever they want, they can do whatever they want, and then say, no, but I can't. I choose to live by example, to show them the way. To so much, and I'm showing him the way, and he's stepping into amazing things. Miracles happen. These tools are so powerful. This family is amazing. The support team, what I have here is so unbelievable. It's hard to put in words, but that's just the small little bit of mine.
Thank you so much, Dana. Huge round of applause for this lovely lady.
Can I just quickly say that this very room right here, a few months ago, Dana was holding a big event. There was a couple hundred people here, and she was making her dream come true at that moment. And the reason why I wanted her to stand on the stage, because that is a manifestation of all of the dreams that she's building in her life. You may have dreams. You may have let some of those dreams die. But they can come back alive. She talked about inspire. To inspire means to breathe life back into something. And that's what we do. That's what we do at Limitless. We inspire. We breathe life back in. People come in there, they come in as zombies, and they walk out, and they're like, I have a mission. I actually know what I'm supposed to do. And they move. And we don't just make you feel good for 3 days, which you do, but we give you tools that are going to help you get where you need to go. I don't know where you need to go, but you do.
We can't make you feel anything. We can't make you feel good for 3 days, but you get to come and learn how to do that on your own.
We're pretty good at it.
We can
don't
create
make you,
beautiful
but-
space. We create beautiful opportunities for that to happen, but ultimately you step into it. And before we wrap up, I want to bring Stephen back up to the stage, and he's going to let you know exactly how you're going to get into Limitless for that $1, and he's going to give you the step-by-step process on how to do that. Welcome back up, Stephen Miller.
Thank you, Marianne Denovelis and
Michael
Tracy
Miller.
Roberts. Big round of applause. Thank you both so much for being here and for sharing your talents, as well as Jacqueline and who else? Kara. Thank you. There you are. Nothing. No, you're good. Thank you so much. Thank you. I love what I get to do. Tree houses. I get to watch them accomplish their dreams, and it's amazing. This isn't, for me, this is a group of individuals that aren't just trying things out. They're doing it, and it's beyond anything that I've ever experienced before. I feel an enormous amount of joy as I watch individuals step into their true power and take the stage and build their businesses and retire and just live that life that they want to. And it looks different for everybody. So my invitation for you is, if anything that we have talked about tonight has resonated with you, take Tracy Roberts and myself up on that offer. Come to Limitless. It is normally a $499 event. At different moments and occasions, we offer it for different prices, honestly. Sometimes we sell those tickets for $99, and sometimes we sell them for $1. And tonight, we're giving that opportunity for you to take advantage of that truly for $1. I will tell you, we make a massive investment into these events for you. I also know the numbers. Some of our higher-end programs, I know that. But that also means that 88% of the people get to come to an event for $1, oftentimes, and receive unbelievable breakthrough in their lives and just amazing change. There's so many wonderful processes. I won't go into all the details, but I do invite you to come. Our next Limitless event is coming up. It's actually this next week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, the 29th through the 1st. And it's going to be amazing. It's at the Salt Palace, right? Am I right? It's at the Salt Palace. As far as I know, we've got close to 1,000 people registered for it already. It's going to be just a tremendous event. We welcome you to come. Don't get scared if you don't like big crowds. I will tell you, it's very intimate. You'll have opportunities to meet with some of our angels. Actually, Marianne, Kara, Dana. Yes, absolutely. Come on up here. You have an opportunity to actually sit one-on-one and that's just our gift to you for coming. That's something that you would typically probably pay several $100s for, and we give that away. So you have a little something to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of build on what he introduced. There's a lot of personal development programs going on. Utah's like a huge mecca for that, and there's so much good happening, and we're so blessed to be in this valley. I just wanted to kind of touch on what really sets us apart at Limitless. We are a family. We are a family that just stays together. and what we do at Limitless with this one-on-one time and the angels, we call us angels, but we're all certified belief breakthrough coaches. And so there might be 1,000 people that come to the Salt Palace, but we have an incredible staff, an incredible long list of really qualified, certified belief breakthrough coaches, which we call angels at Limitless, who will take you and give you that one-on-one attention that you need. Not a single person gets lost at Limitless. You can get lost if you want to, though, and we totally respect your space, right? Most of the time.
We will give you our best effort.
No, we really do give our best effort. We just love you guys so much, and we love what we do, and we love the difference that this is making in people's lives. I love that I no longer have fibromyalgia completely consuming my body after 22 years. I love that I have a family that has supported me on that journey. I love that every day I create miracles in my life that never happened before until I met these people, until I had that support system. And so we'd love for you to come. We'd love for you to experience that.
How many of you know people in your life who you would love to have come to this event? Raise your hand. Here's my invitation for you. These tickets are $1. Buy 20 of them. Spend $20, get 20 people to this event, and have them give the opportunity to look at life a little bit differently and to take their lives to the next level. How many of you commit to doing that? Can we hear some noise? How many of you commit to doing that? Yeah. Excellent.
So the details, how to do it. Just go on to strongbrook.com. When you go on to strongbrook.com, again, that's the name of our company. That's our parent company. Go on to strongbrook.com. When you go on there, you'll see a little tab that says events. Click on that. You'll see I want breakthrough. It's the very first thing that you'll have on that list. When you click on that, it'll pull up a screen that'll allow you to actually choose a date. There's one in June, July. There's one in July, towards the end of July. And when you go into the page, you'll want to type in the code 1, O-N-E. That's all. Okay, promo code 1. It'll only be on, I believe, for the next 24 hours, and then it'll be shut down. But if you put in that code 1, you'll be able to go in there and purchase your ticket. So again, strongbrook.com, I want breakthrough. Just put in the promo code ONE1, all one lowercase. Thank you for your time. Thank you, everyone online, for joining us as well. No matter where you are, we really appreciate you being here with us. You can do the exact same. Go online and purchase your tickets. Oh, yeah, thank you. You also want to put who invited you in that, or they may have a specific website, their username.strongbrook.com, that they can give you to also help you purchase that, so they can get proper credit for that as well. So with that, just want to say thank you, everybody. Remember, if you know it or not, you are limitless. We appreciate you coming here. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.
Staring into the sun with strong